Welcome to the Visibility Roundtable, session one, day one, as it were. So lovely to see you all. I'll give you a little bit of a rundown very quickly as to what we're going to do in terms of time and housekeeping so that we can stay on time and do this well and leave some time for Q&A. So the title of today is around creating your visibility plan for 2022. I'm going to throw a few cat among the pigeons here about what sort of visibility you may or may not need, as it were, and I want to open it up for questions because that's one of the best places that we can do. So in the chat, what is always helpful, and I know that this is it's certainly a thing that happens in networking, in the middle of anything happening, people tend to put all manner of stuff in the chat because they put their courses, they put their bits and bobs and all sorts of stuff. But if we can just, if you've got questions, if I'm saying something, please feel free to use the chat for like what I call like questions and stuff, and we'll swing by at the end of it. I'm going to talk for about about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. She says hopefully, because she could talk for a heck of a lot longer. But I'm going to cover some topics, and I'm going to do I'm going to try a little bit of a online sticky note thing. It may work, it may not work. But I'm trying to do some things on sticky notes, as it were, online, so I can kind of put some of these concepts up for you. So it's a little visual. And my goal for today is to help you to understand and to think through a visibility plan and what is right for your visibility next year. So I think most of you do know me, but you don't know all of the background, and because I am recording it, I will kind of share is back in 2008 when I first started my first business, I sat in my dining room. The first thing I went was, well, I need to get visible, because if nobody knows that I exist, they can't actually decide whether I'm good, bad or indifferent. It's not going to make any difference. I need to get visible. And the first thing that I did was I thought, well, I need to advertise. So I think I went down to the local butcher's shop and put a card in the, we're talking days before Facebook, put a card in the window, crickets, took out a half-page ad in the local kind of magazine, those kind of local magazines that come through the door or something, giving, all your plumbers and your electricians, crickets, as it were, and then I kind of sat there and went, well, what's going to work? How are people going to find me? And therein lay that journey. And the first thing I did was I remembered there was a person that I had contacted a while before who was a PR sort of specialist in London. And she had helped my husband's sort of website, kind of get a little bit more visible when he was a music producer. And I messaged her and I actually just said to her, I'm starting off. How do people find me? How do I get visible? You just don't know what you don't know. And she kind of said, well, you definitely need an online presence. Okay. And at that point, she said, you definitely need an online presence. And that's still true. And even more so true now than 2008. And you need to sort of work out, you need an online presence. And she worked with me, I think, on sort of what I was offering and how I was kind of using my visibility. And basically, I found some online directories at the time, got myself leveraged with some things that were coming up in Google before me. I paid for a couple of, sort of those directories to be at the top of the page from people, like people needed to see me. So just think about it. It's like, what is visibility? You need to be seen. Now you go, Angela, you're talking the obvious here. I could be going off and having my lunchtime soup. It's become more complex than it needs to be, because there are more tricks, there are more tactics, there are more communication tools than there ever were when I first started in business. That does not mean you need them all. It does not mean you need them all right now. Okay. What matters is, it's always going to matter, is who's in your network. I still believe in that bit that we're all 6 degrees of separation from the Pope. as it were. The first letter of the alphabet is A, and if we were going to do the A to Z of any visibility, is learning to ask. And we don't like doing that because we don't like bothering people. So we're going to look at reverse engineering right now your visibility plan for 2022. Some of this is going to require you asking people for things. Okay. Not hiding behind a load of online posting. One of my clients just said, she said, look, I'm just really nervous about having to do all this, you know, content. I'm really concerned about content. And I went, you at the moment have an 8-week program that you have sold via a live talk, webinar, start online, via a conversation. Okay. And you're worried of that you need all this content to do it. You can see it's like, she's going to need backup, but she doesn't need it. She's sold without it. So I'm saying that first because the biggest myth in visibility is that you have to be on every channel, in every way, all the time, 24/7 from the get-go. If you thought about building your brand as a 5-year plan, you probably built it beforehand. But if you thought about building your business or your boutique business or your brand, if you thought of it over a 5-year plan, we're going to, you know, think about, like, I start with a 5-year plan and I go, where do I want this to be in 5 years? Okay. I'll create a PDF and I'll send it out with a recording for you. But where do you want this? If you thought about just for a second, where do you want this to be in 5 years? Okay. I'm just going to kind of do this. Okay. 5 years. Your brand. Okay. Then 3 years. Okay. What would have to happen? What would have to happen at this point for your 5-year plan to take shape? Now, you know at the moment that you can't write, you know, so we're doing an overview here, as it were. So think about, if you're in 5 years' time, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Because many people are trying to build a hamster wheel, where if you want to be kind of like out of your business in 5 years' time, or you've got kids going to university, you want to move house, you're going to have to think about your business model and your kind of goals before you start to think about where you're going to show up. And this is counterintuitive, first of all. So I'm doing the big picture down to the small picture very quickly. Then after 3 years, then it's 12 months. And then we're going to kind of zip in here at 12 months, okay? And then it's 6 months. And then it's 1 month. And then it's 1 week. Now, when you look at that, most people start to focus. We're going to work backwards from here. Can everybody see that? Is that all right? Can you all see that? Okay. Yeah. And you're asking yourself, so what you have to do is you kind of have to, at another point, we do this with some of the work we do with one-to-one clients or in the Visible Club, but we work out, like, where does this need to be? And then we cover up one side and go, okay, if we cover up the 5-year, where do you have to be to get to the 3-year? Cover up the 12-month, where do you have to be to get to the 12-month? Cover up the rest of it, where do you have to be to get to the 6-month? And you focus every single week on the 1 week. Okay, so that's that is where you have to think so that you can simplify it. This becomes much less rather than much more to do. Much less to do. So if you were to think of in 12 months' time, for your visibility plan, where do you want your business to be? How much income do you want? For some people, it's like, I'd really like to replace the income that I had in a job. Okay, so start from the fact that you have to start with you in your visibility. Because if you don't start with your personal goals, most people try to build a visibility plan around what they think they should do to get more clients. And then it becomes this hamster wheel of getting. And it feels like we're coming from a place of lack rather than a place of actually having a winning offer behind that. So start with you. And like, just think right now, you might want to write it down. It's like, where in 12 months' time, if we were having this conversation and you went, actually, I created a plan, I worked the plan, and there were some amazing things that kind of came in with some serendipity in between, but that I could actually see measurably where that went and we achieved it. What does that look like for you first? Start from that rather than I have to get things right now. Where are you coming from? Because the visibility plan is working backwards from that. Where are you coming from? Because everything is reverse engineerable. And it's that bit, it's this asking yourself this question. If you're thinking your visibility plan has to come from this question, why does your business idea exist? Why does your business idea exist? Why does your business exist? Because if the why isn't important enough, and I'll say that there's two ways of actually building a business, only two, okay? But if the business idea that we've got is not serving a discernible problem in the marketplace, it doesn't matter how much you're pushing things out, you're going to have a hard job and a much more difficult job bringing it in. So why does that business exist? Where do you want to personally be in 12 months? We need to pull them together in order to create the right visibility platform for you. As I said, there's two ways for you to actually go forward. And most of you are going to be in what I call the second place. So the first place is you're in a job or you have enough income to last you for 2 to 3 years, and you build your audience and you build your credibility by being out in the marketplace and building an audience, as it were, and serving that audience for 2 to 3 years and then launching, because you'll have got credibility, trustworthiness, and 1,000 true fans in the marketplace kind of tribe. Okay, some people have done that very, very successfully. I would say that's 20% of people. 80% of people are in the fact that I need to make cash now, like yesterday now. In which case you are what I call earn as you learn, okay? Which is you have to go out and you have to look for a problem in the marketplace that your skills can serve and serve it. And you have to be agile within that space to get cleverer at the message with that, so that we can get, sort of like, sometimes you'll think you want to serve people in a particular way, doing a particular course or whatever, and then you start speaking to people and they actually are not interested in that at all, but they're really interested if you do this for them. Can you be agile enough to do the thing that they want right now that you might not have thought of, but you can serve? Because if you can match your skills and your service at that place, at this point, at the start-off point, then you will be on your way earning as you learn. And what will happen is you will do the other form of business growth, which is learn to sell it, then grow it, then build a brand on the back of it, which is why I say it's good to think backwards from 5 years and then think where you are right now. So I'm assuming that you've got in your mind where you want to be in 12 months' time with the income that you want, etc., and where you want that to be. So look backwards, look at that and go, what has to happen at 6 months, where do I need to be at 6 months in order for that 12 months to happen? I'm going to choose the visibility channels in the moment, but where do you have to be at 6 months for that 12 months to happen? Don't worry about number, you know, if the numbers look difficult or scary, don't worry about that right now. But where do you have to be at 6 months if you were to hit that 12 months from your estimation? Okay, so we've got a framework first of all. Okay, and then where do you have to be at a month for that, in next month, for that, for you to think about where would you have to be, maybe in 3 months, you know, where would you need to be in 3 months time if you were to hit that 6 month? Where would you need to be in a month to hit that 3 month? And the reason that's so important to do is that straight away you're going to start to realize there's less to do. Or there's a couple of key priorities that you need at 6 months or at 3 months or at 1 month. Now, while you've got that kind of just floating around in your mind, we have to look and go, okay, what am I, you know, have you got in there, you know what you're, you know, you might kind of go, oh, I know where I want my business to be. You might already have an idea of exactly what you want to deliver to get there. Okay, you already might have that idea, you might not. But we have to look at the 3 things. Okay, what am I going to deliver? You know, what's the thing that, and that what you want to deliver is the thing that you know that you are still passionate about doing. Now, to start with, you're going to, I always find that to start with, you're probably going to find you work with some clients that eventually you don't want to work with. And people want to avoid that straight away. They want to buy into 12-week programs or whatever it is that say, write on a piece of paper your ideal client first. I am not saying that, because here's the deal, is you're not going to know what those ideal clients really, really are until you're up and running. Your job is to get money in the door with solving a problem in the marketplace right now that somebody wants solving. And then once you've done 5 or 10 of those people, you're going to find that there's some common traits in the middle of that you can then start to refine and go, these are the type of people that really we want to double down on and sell best next time. And this is, then you've got the opportunity to re-look at your visibility. Does that make sense? To look at those people. But a visibility is not about it's not about posting on content, you know, social media all the time, and it's not about not posting either. But it's about, at the start off, looking at your skills, where you're coming from, and getting into conversation with people. So if you're thinking about your month or where you want to be, like, where do you have to be? If you were to hit your month goal, where do you have to be next week? Forget if you can get there or not. Sometimes it might take a month to reach your weekly goal. That sounds very Irish, but do you know what I mean? It might take you a month to reach your weekly goal, but you will reach it. Like, where would you have to be next week in order to reach that monthly goal? And when you are looking at that, you'll realize that there's probably a particular thing. And now we're going to look, now you can look and go, what do I think is going to be my quickest route to that at the stage that you're at today? Not in 5 years' time, when I need 20 Facebook ads and 9 funnels. Where do I need to be now? Where today? Where this week? Where do I need to be in order to create that? Who is around me right now? Am I, you know, it might be certain networking. It might be certain strategic partners. It might be people. I always say, start with your inner circle. Who's in your realm right now? Who's the acquaintances? Who's the people that you could pick up the phone with and go, I am looking to, you know, work with let's say disciplinary, etc. You know, just it's because HR came into my mind, Claire, for a moment. It was like, I know it probably isn't, but it's like, I'm looking to get into disciplinary. Who do I know in my network that I could speak to and have a conversation with, that businesses that are, you know, in that, or other sort of HR people that are not doing disciplinaries, who's right in my realm right now, your kingdom, your realm, who's in your world right now that you can tangibly connect with? People don't want to start with a conversation, so I'm just going to kind of deal with that one. People don't want to start with a conversation because it's scary, and they don't want to learn to sell because that's scary too. Okay, we much rather just turn up to something and go, well, I'm Angela and I'm starting my business and don't know what I'm doing, and you know, I've come from here and I'm hoping to start with this, and like zero intentionality or credibility behind how I'm going out in that. So you start with your own personal impact and you go, okay, where's the problem in the marketplace? I have skills that help go from A to B. I help, you know, my skill set is around getting this done or that done, or A to B. That's where we have to start, with your zones of genius and your skill set. Because in a job, you are hired for your CV, but in the entrepreneurial work, you will eventually be hired for your zones of genius, not your CV, because you're not doing a role. You're going to be working with your uniqueness, and sometimes that takes a while to find. It's sometimes only when you've gone out into the marketplace and kind of worked a few ways around there that you kind of go, actually, I really love working with this type of person and I really don't like doing that. That is not the point to quit. That's the point to refine. But when we start out, we've got to have if we haven't ever had any clients, or we're wanting to refine things a bit, the way to look at visibility, first of all, is to start with you. Who would I love to serve, and what would I, if I had to do this for the next 6 months or the next 12 months, what would I love to just double down on for the next 12 months? What would I love to deliver? What would I love to double down and deliver for the next 12 months? Because I think visibility is very simple when you actually get very, very strategic. What would I like to deliver for the next 12 months? And how do I want to deliver that? Sometimes people find that they actually like to be doing things live, and other people go, that's impossible for me to do that live. So how do I want to deliver that? And then it's only after we've looked at those two things do we go, well, how am I going to find them? So I'd love to, feel free in a moment to share, because I'd love to, if there's anything specific, don't keep your goals silent, as it were, you know, nobody can get any help on that way. But if there's anything that's sparked or suddenly kind of shifted, or even kind of gone, oh, bloody hell, I thought you were just going to give me an A to Z, Angela, of just, I've got to post here, I've got to do this, I've got to be on this channel, here's the next Facebook strategy. I won't do that, because it might not be right for your business. It might actually not be right for the life you want to lead, the business that you want to have in 5 years' time. And actually, when you start to look down on it, when I looked at the business I wanted in 5 years' time, and I actually boiled down my own sort of plan to where I am this week, I realized that all I needed to do was tweak some of the things that I was doing and contact some of the people that I already had in my network. And I think you can take an awful lot off your plate right now that will start to increase things. But your visibility is around, first of all, finding out what you really want for the next 12 weeks, for the next 12 months, because otherwise you'll build something you don't want to do. And then you'll just wish you had another job, or you'll get really stuck. So one of the common things that people say to me is, Angela, I just want to replace my income from the job I had. And I go, that's great, but actually we're going to have to do more than that, because in a job somebody else did the sales, the cleaning, the marketing, the accounts, the legals. So we have to look at if you look at that and go, if you then have to add tax onto that, networking, marketing, any systems, any software, any coaching, any help, then there's additional stuff on top of that take home pay that you need to factor in. And you might find then that you're creating a price point, a package or a program that is higher end, not lower end, because if it's too low end price wise, you will struggle to get the type of expert clients that solopreneurs and good expert small businesses actually need. You're not in a volume business. Does that make sense? You're not in a volume business. So your numbers are important. Your visibility, first of all, starts with you, your numbers, where you want to be in 12 months' time. Doesn't start with the client, first of all. Then it starts with, actually, what problem do my skills solve in the marketplace? And where do I want to put my focus for the next 12 months, as it were? What would I like to really kind of become known for in 12 months' time? Okay. Then you go in 6 months, where do I need to be in order for that to happen? How many clients do I need to have, or where do I want that to be in 6 months' time? Then it's, where does that need to be in a month? And then we need to be in a week. And you go, well, Angela, I still don't know the platforms I need to be on. And I go, that's fine, but let's look first of all at what that looks like. And then go, and you can do this yourself from what you've kind of got in your mind or written down. What feels the next logical step in your visibility? What feels the next logical step in your visibility from what you've written down? Anybody want to open the conversation? You can. Yeah, go unmute yourself. Go for it, Joel.
Angela, I was just going to ask, when you were saying about what would I love to double down on and deliver, that's not so much course content, that's more like social media and putting like promotion or education out into the world, is it?
No, that is, what do you want to deliver? What is the result that you want to deliver for your clients? Can you see how innocent we start to go, well, what's the tactic that I need? And I'm going, you can't choose your tactic until you've chosen what the problem is that you're going to solve. Because if you're actually using your content, you've got to talk about the result that you want to achieve for somebody and the problem that you want to solve for them.
Okay, I've got another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Some of the things you were saying then, like money is the first thing that comes to mind when you're trying to understand where you want to be.
Yeah.
Can you give us some other measures? Like how do you like the metrics that you might use?
Okay, so I looked and I just went, okay, how many people do I want to serve in the Visible Club? Or it could be one-to-one work by next year. Okay, what result do I want to get for those people? Why is that important to me? Why does this business exist? Why does this business exist? Because I'm thinking of the people, then I'm thinking of like, what is the problem that I solve for people? Well, I know it's about helping people to actually sell, then grow, then put the building blocks in place. But the biggest thing that I know I help people do is stop doing all the things that are actually not going to get them clients to start with, and learn how to actually leverage their unique skill set, their real zone of genius, and to actually start to listen into the marketplace of what people are actually wanting, and to be quite agile at the start so that they can actually get out and start serving with the things that they can do right now, and then learning how to refine it and grow it from there. Because for me, if somebody hasn't got clients within the first 3 months of going out, it's not that they're not capable, it's that they're actually doing the wrong things. They're just doing a lot of things. If you think about it, it's a great question, Joel, when you said, like, do you like, what are we going to deliver? Is like, which is the content? Because can you see how your brain, can you see how marketing has pushed the conversation to content marketing, so that content marketers can get people to buy into content marketing? Not because you actually need all of that right now.
So, yeah, when he was talking, he was having a side discussion, which was, we've already built like a course. Is our focus then becomes to focus on that course and refine it and perfect it over the course of that year?
Right. So basically, literally 10 minutes ago, when before I started the call, a lady wanted to work with me for one-to-one a couple of months ago. She already had an 8-week course, and she'd had one person buy into it at £1,200. And she said, what, where do I go? How do I build this? I went, you double down on the thing that works right now. Because until you've got 10 of those people at that price point, or a little bit more, etc., until you've got 10, you are not going to see the commonalities. You'll have refined your sales skills. You'll have refined your delivery. You've got testimonials. You'll have gained credibility in the marketplace that you can then actually take that out and go, right, what's the next stage of building this business and going out? Before I had my real big kind of upsurge in my own visibility, I'd been working with voices for probably 6 or 7 years behind the scenes, but I went straight out to start with. I got out some initial easy visibility. Now, everybody's going to need the ability to have, like, if we talk about visibility in terms of tech and nurturing, everybody's going to have some level of either CRM or email list, as it were, where you can bring people into your world to continue to communicate with them. That makes common sense. Okay. So it's like we're wanting to be visible. Yeah. We're wanting to be visible with something very simple that you can communicate with people on a regular basis. Because if somebody has come into your world and is opening your communications to them, you're building a relationship with them. So I'd say visibility to me is about, there's awareness, there's nurturing, and there's kind of like sort of bringing them into your world further and further. And not everybody's going to be doing that. So for me, I focus first of all on conversations with people in my realm. That could be networking for people. That could be asking for connections of somebody that could become a momentum partner that has access, like who else has access to the type of people that you want to be around. That's a really good one, because it just stops you thinking about clients and money. It's like, who has access? Who do you want to build around? If you had to build your dream team of people to refer to you, if you had to build your dream team of places where you know that you could go and be in front of the type of people that you want to serve, where are they? What are those places? What are those places? So it's about sort of a little bit of planning first, because visibility without a strategy is just throwing mud at the walls. It's people who go to networking every single week with other people that don't want to be there. And you want to kind of go, is there somebody in the room who could introduce me to somebody that I need? Am I in the right room? Have the courage to trust yourself that you might be new in business, but you are not new. You're not new. You've been around the block a few times. You know your stuff. You are expert at what you do. You're just new. This is just newly ways of marketing yourself and getting this out into the world in a different way. Okay. So whenever you go out, trust yourself first and foremost, and be proud to share the problems that you solve for people. Even if it's that I have a background, or I have my background is engineering, my background is ministry, my background is HR, my background is music, whatever it is. And I know that, I'm looking to help people be able to do this. If Einstein said keep it simple but not simpler, he didn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater and not build an email list, or not put out good content or good questions on social media or engagement, etc. Content plans, I think, come down the line in terms of the tactics that you choose once you've decided who you want to be visible to, what problem you actually want to solve, what business you are in, what business you want to build, where you want to be in 12 months' time, and what 1 or 2 routes that you want to focus on for the next 90 days to move that forward. And if cash being one of them, you want to get to the place, your visibility has to take you to the place where my old coach used to say, where money changes hands. If you take nothing away from this, take this. You have to focus on the point where money changes hands. Now, there are several places that money can change hands. They're generally going to change hands in a conversation with somebody. They can change hands with a PayPal link or a set up sort of CRM, you know, a system where somebody clicks on a link and pays money for something, you know, and clicks on it. So in which case a good sales page or the message has to be right to people. You can have where money changes hands, where it could go as far as or as cold as where people do, you know, Facebook advertising, and they bring them into a particular funnel, and then they kind of watch a webinar, and then they book, you know, and then they go to an upsell, etc. But note that the further you get from a one-to-one conversation with somebody, the more clear you have to be on your market, the more clear you have to be on your message, because you are more disconnected from the buyer the further, the colder that you get, or the more technological things you put in place in order to try and sell from to start with. Except that if you say, you know, if you've got your booking system set up, your email system set up, you know, and if you've got a way to take payment, yeah, that makes it easy for people, like one-click Amazon, then your visibility makes sense no matter what you're doing. But if you're being visible, but it's not leading to either a conversation or it's not leading to a point of contact where somebody can buy from you, then we have to go, do I need it right now? Is it most important, or can I build it in down the line? But if somebody, you think about if all somebody does is post on social media or go to a particular network where it's just the same people trying to get more business from each other, it's like standing on the motorway and wondering why the cars are going fast and they're not stopping. Keep thinking about what you want, the problem that you solve, the way that's going to make sense for you to deliver it right now. And for a lot of people at the start of their business, it's one-to-one, or it's one-to-one work with people, if that makes sense, one-to-one work or a program that they walk people through that takes them from A to B generally makes sense at the start of somebody's business. The passive income one-to-many approach very rarely works unless it's, say, a product style business at the start. If you're a product business, very different. If you're a service business, you need to build trust and credibility that you can get a result from people from A to B. So think about what type of person, what type of that you want, and who do you know right now that you can ask to be introduced to? Who can you reach out to and have a conversation with that is right in your current, what I call your inner circle? Make a list of like, who are my contacts? Who do I know? What job do they do? Can I say to them, look, this is what I'm starting up on. You know, I don't know if you know anybody that I can have a conversation with, but, you know, could you, you know, pass me a name, or can I ask for somebody? Now, they could be more or less connected to them. If you want somebody that can actually introduce you or connect you, can you see that is visibility? That's as much of a plan as posting on social media, and probably more effective because it's personal. So I am absolutely in favour of good content marketing, right? Totally in favour of it all, totally in favour of good networking, totally in favour of the lot. But only if it makes sense for what's important to you personally, and what's going to be the fastest way for you to get cash in the door and credibility as an expert within the type of people that you want to be seen as an expert for, or the type of people you want to work with, so that you can build that expertise up and then people can start to refer you. So I kind of think if business building is a 5-year plan and that's okay, what's going to be in year one? What do you want to focus on? And where do you want to streamline so much that actually you can double down on it in the next 90 days and kind of knock it out the ballpark and get some money in and some confidence in? are there any questions, Linda or Claire, in terms of that I might have thrown the cat amongst the pigeons as to what you're hearing online, but I think you have to discern the truth from the myth, from what actually works. We've all got 24 hours a day, and unless we've got a massive team and 7 figures, which nobody starts with that, you have to work out intentionally what you want to deliver, who you want to deliver it for, and using your skill set, your primary skill sets right now, and the problem you want to solve, and what makes sense to work on in the next 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months to actually get to that 12-month plan that you've maybe got replaced your income consistently. And we can maybe look at doing that in 90 days if you actually get the right program, the right price point, as it were, the right package. And then you kind of go, okay, I need to be serving this type of person right now, or I need to be serving in this particular way. Where do I, you know, who do I call? Where do I get in front of? Where does the work come in? Okay. So I'd really love to hear from Linda or Claire, if you've got any questions, or whether I've just kind of depressed you for 2022.
No, I haven't got any questions, but I find it very interesting what you're saying about social media and content. You could literally be describing me right now.
Right.
Just started off. I've been to lots of like marketing courses, business Wales, that kind of stuff, where content is king, and it's rammed down your throat.
It's not king.
It's not me. I'm not a natural social media person, even in my personal life.
Yep.
So I've been spending my time thinking, all right, looking into how you write copy and engaging with you. I'm spending all my time wasted on this, I'm going to be honest, crap social media stuff. And actually, that's not what I'm here to do. That's not what I'm trying to achieve. So
if I were to ask you,
it's refreshing to hear you say that.
Well, I'm really pleased, because sometimes, you know, you come out with what I see to be a truth, like what it takes to be in business. I've been in business for 13 years, and what it takes to be in business, when I really come down to it, is social media and channels. It's just another form of communication. Right, but it doesn't make sense. It's like the motorway. It doesn't make sense to be posting all the time when something is like the ticker tape on Sky News. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think of Sky News, when you get that ticker tape that comes past, that's social media, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, social media, it's just ticker tape. If you happen to see the latest bit and it's revolving round, you go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, look, such and such has broke up with their boyfriend, you know, and it's on social media. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's that, isn't it? You know. But if you look at it, I look at that and go, that's not in my control. I'm waiting. I'm spending all my day posting, waiting for somebody to turn on the television or come onto Facebook to happen to just see it at that month. And then we go, oh, the stars have aligned. And I'm like, oh, no, it's like, it's chance. And it doesn't make sense to me. It makes sense when to have a consistent approach to your message in the marketplace. Once we know what it is, once we know the results we're delivering for somebody. But up to that point, I go, you have to build you have a network of people. You have a network of people. If social media went down tomorrow, you could still make money. And I highly suggest we go, if social media breaks down tomorrow, who am I going to talk to? Who do I talk to? Social media, to me, it's like, it's one part of it. Now, like the PR lady who said to me, you need to have an online presence today. Yeah, like you might want to set up, you know, your Facebook page, etc. But it's not about trying to get a lot of people on it. It's just about kind of a space, or I think your website needs to be a website building thing. But the minute I went out in 2019 and I used all of my local network when I started again, and I probably earned my first 50K in 9 months, and I didn't even have a website. But I knew who I was serving. I knew the product that I had. I had a premium product offer for corporate at the time. And I went and I spoke to people about delivering that training. And because the price point was good enough, it got me up and running within 2 months. And then it evolved from there. So I'm all about being live speaking, being in, you know, having your one-to-ones, getting into certain places, Some people might be more advanced and are ready to put things online in terms of courses because they have a community, etc., to do it. But I would say it's like, which HR people are delivering a certain element, but you deliver another part to it. Which people might not be able to afford the big podcast agencies, but they're willing to help a new business on the, on the run. I look and go, my visibility, first of all, has to get me going. It has to get me money through the door. It has to solve a problem that somebody wants solving. Now, that's the key. People are always putting stuff out and talking about content. Content is not king. Shall I tell you what's king? Your whole content marketing strategy, no matter how big or small it ever is, needs to be leading people towards a conversation with you, because that's where money changes hands most of the time, certainly at the start of a business. Conversation is king. And it's queen. Okay? Conversation. We're having a conversation. I've created something to have a conversation. So depending on what you want, so the first place to do is actually, I don't know where to be visible until I know what I want to deliver and who at the moment, and what would give me a really good sense of being out in business this year. Don't wait for somebody else to define that for you. You define it. And then you will continue to refine it. Does that make sense? Because the marketplace will change and it will tell you. But conversation, ask people, if you meet people at networking, or if you've got people in your network, say, who can you connect me to? Who could I have a great conversation? Who might be able to link me to this? Even Facebook apparently sets its algorithm up on the idea that we are 6 degrees of separation for things. So it tells you, it gives you more of what you want to see. So if I had to start completely from scratch again tomorrow with nothing, and actually I did, 2020, I started with something from nothing, okay? Again, I've done it 3 times, okay? So I'm quite used to starting something from nothing. The first thing I do is go, what is it that I want to bring to the world? What problem do I want to solve with what I'm going to do? And then who do I know? First of all, do I know anybody that I think this might solve the problem for? And then who could I ask to be connected to speak to, where I could go out and solve this problem? And then I created a little beta version of something to walk a few people through it so I could iron out the crinkles and then get it out. But if you've got a good service that you can work with right now, get that out into the marketplace and go and sort of work out and take business. It doesn't matter. It matters that you get started rather than you think you have to have a perfect plan. Version 1 is better than version none. Now, if you want a deeper conversation around what that means like for you, then I'm going to put I will swing back. We will swing back with a recording and a link for you to sort of book a call, as it were, if you want to kind of have a deeper call, as it were, with that. Let me just find the link. And I shall put it in the chat so I can take it a little bit deeper for you personally. And I'm going to leave you with 5 things to do, okay? And then you can look at this.
Get an opportunity to say something, Angela.
Yeah, please do. I'm just getting a link for the booking, so go for it.
Right, we had conversations, so I'm pretty much at the end of this with now knowing what to do with the people, how to market it, how to right. So that is where I need to go now with make connection.
Yeah. So with where you are is you now need to sit down. You're in the Visible Club. You're having a conversation, or you've had with a conversation. So part of that is then looking, going, okay, what channel or channels or what thing? First of all, same thing. What am I? Let me just give you these. Let me give you these 5 things because I think it'll answer your question. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, you need a plan for how each potential person that you think might be somebody that would be a good client fit for you, etc., or becomes a buyer. you go, isn't that what you're supposed to give me, Angela? Yeah. It's like, you need a plan. Now, in other words, how do they become a buyer? So in other words, the simplest way to do that is you have a conversation and you have a way for them to actually pay money for you. But you need a plan for how your member or your kind of, you know, your potential client becomes a buyer. Otherwise, what we call is it's just spray and pray. So think about, what would you think what's the simplest journey that you could lead somebody on? Like, you meet somebody, okay, you realize that you could serve them and you could do some work for them, okay. What, you have a conversation with that person, they say, yes, I think that I could, you know, that you could help me. And they say, how does it work? And you then flesh out, you go, this is how it works. Okay, so how does it work? Okay, how do you deliver your service? How do you want to deliver your service? Okay, could be that I do a piece of work for you, or, you know, or it takes, you know, 6 months to do this tribunal or whatever it is. It's kind of like, how does it's like, how does the process work? And people, they want to know they know two things. How does the process work, and how do I pay, and what's the cost of the process, and what am I going to get at the end of it? So you just need to map out, like, what is the customer, what they call it, the customer journey. So don't make it complicated. It's not about the content, it's about the customer. Okay, the customer and the conversation is king and queen here. Who, with your skills right now, not in 5 years' time, who with your skills right now and with the things that you've got on the table right now, could you go out and serve? And what is the simplest way that you could create a conversation and a way for them to buy? What's the simplest, quickest route to cash that you could create right now? Everything else is just spraying and praying, and it's ticketing.
Number 2.
That's number 1. Okay, so you need a plan, your customer journey plan of how they're going to become a buyer. I would suggest that you focus on conversation and the customer's ability for you to be able to just describe how you're going to kind of work with them and what they're going to get from it. Okay. Number 2. Version 1 is better than version 1. Version 1 is better than version none. Do not overcomplicate it. If I swung that one more and more today, do not overcomplicate it. Okay. Do not overcomplicate it. Number 3. So in other words, just get the first version out. Don't make it perfect. Don't worry whether everybody else has got brilliant photos. Your ability to solve a problem for a customer is more important than whether it looks brilliant and you've got a perfect post right now. Okay. Number 3. Everything in your communication, so this will help you with some content, everything in your communication should demonstrate the gap between where your potential client currently is and where they could be after working with you. That's got to be the foundation. All communication paths, all conversations should demonstrate what the gap is between where the person is versus where they could be. And that often means we need conversations to even find that out. Number 4, your only step is to help the person do what I call the next raised hand, or the next yes. So that could be like the first thing that we did here was, we're having a round table. Say yes to it. Okay, lots of the people said no to it, didn't start, you know. Say yes to it. Next thing is, I put a link in the chat that says, have a further conversation with me. Those that are really interested will go, yes. So your job is to move people into the next raised hand, and one-to-one consultations is a proven path and the easiest to start with, and you can do it within 48 hours with some of the people that you know. Can I repeat number 4? Yeah. Your only job is to help get the next raised hand, or take a message, get a message to somebody. It could be a DM, could be, look, I'm starting this agency, I'm starting this course. I'd love to have a chat with you about it. Would you be interested? You're going to get, you might get a lot of no's, but it's the idea is like, it's your next job is to put a message out, some form that gets the next raised hand. And working with people one-to-one in consultations is still the easiest and the most proven path and the easiest to start with if you are trying to get your business off the ground. You can do it in 48 hours by actually just contacting a few people that you know. And the last one, because you might not realize this, what's your thoughts on direct call? I love picking up the telephone, but I love picking up the telephone. I'm not a cold caller, if that makes sense to start with, although I don't mind having a cold call if it's but I do it as a kind of research thing. If I'm kind of going, look, I'm trying to find out who's the marketing manager of this company, etc., I might do it like that. But I would more likely probably start with LinkedIn and find them on LinkedIn and see if I can start a conversation or relationship. I'll try and kind of see where they are and see what's going on and follow them a little bit, because this is a person. This is not just about stabbing at people with campaigns yet. Does that make sense? People are human, you know. Be human is it wasn't number 5, but it really is number 5. Really is be human.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go for it.
So I did exactly what you said. I went onto LinkedIn, but the person that responded to a poll where they would be interested in the course is not active or hasn't been active on there for like a month.
No, so you can see it's like and even that is, I don't take that. That's a kind of raised hand, but it's not, if that makes sense. It's not. It's like, it's sort of, but unless they take it further, or unless you DM them, or unless you find a way to get in communication with them, they're not yet.
I know, so he's in my circles. He's already in my circles.
Right, so just give him a call, give him a message. It's like, kind of take the barrier of social media out. Your job is to simply use those things as a way to bring people into a conversation. Don't feel as if you have to keep using that medium to communicate with people. I kind of just go, look, it's a conveyor belt. It's just a way to get things from A to B. It's not the reason for being. And the final one is, you are already connected to your next paying client. You are already connected to your next paying client. If that's true, then start thinking about your connections. And this is a little bit hard for people because they sometimes feel as if it's much easier to say things to people they don't know than people that they do. But actually, until you actually are in a relationship with people, they're not going to say yes to you. Who can you start the conversation with? How can you build up your credibility and start sharing what you want to do? I want to help people do this. I want to help people do that. Who can I connect with? Who can I talk to? Who can I go and speak at a networking about? And if it's more kind of what I call a service sort of support business, or it's like, is there other areas of HR? Is there other areas of your type of business where there's synergy going on, where you can be the next referral partner going on, etc. But I would say, as you are connected to the person, your job is to find ways of having a conversation. Your job is to get off the content conveyor belt, because if it's like, it's just going to keep going round and round and round. Your job is to take your suitcase off the conveyor belt and take it to Holiday Island. You know what I mean? Like, take it off. Take your conversations off social media. It's a vehicle to develop, you know, to maybe connect with people, for sure, but it's not meant to, like, it's the only form of communication. It's a big lie, but it's just because it's such a big vehicle. And lots of marketers that sell courses around content marketing will always tell you that you need more content marketing. And I'm like going, if your business isn't about that, if the type of people and the type of work you do it's not that you don't need some online presence, but for me, your 2022 visibility plan is going to start with you deciding where you want to be in 12 months. Just to round up where you want that to be in 12 months, how you want your business to look in 12 months time, then what has to happen in 6 months for that to happen, what has to happen in a month for that to happen, what has to happen next week, and realize that actually, if all I'm doing is wasting my time posting or doing things that are not actually leading me to a conversation and a paying client, then I've got to be clear of what problem am I solving in the marketplace, as it were. Which kind of companies or individuals do I solve that for? How can I connect myself to them in a way that brings a meaningful, quick and clarifying conversation? And then how can I have a simple format that I can take cash right now? Isn't that what visibility is for at this point? It's so that you can actually raise your profile as an expert with what you do, a problem solver, and then be able to create some credibility by bringing on some people, working with them, even if it has to be lower. I don't agree with really low prices or anything to try and do things, because I don't think low prices necessarily equate the type of client that you want. But there is always a room for kind of sometimes working with 1 or 2 beta clients just to get those testimonials if you've never done anything, and then moving forward from there. And if you have got those clients in place, and then you're looking at the other marketing plan that kind of goes, how do I get more of them, is again, I think speaking and webinars, and the next form about that is how can I just leverage that with a little bit more live ways of doing this. We have not exhausted being able to speak online live to people yet and get a feeling of intimacy with people, depending on where you are with it. So I'm not mopping out a content plan for 22. I'm sorry if I got you here into false pretenses if you thought that's what I was going to do. If you are suddenly breathing a sigh of relief that there is actually a more direct and simple way for you to get this off the ground, and you can leave 80% of that off the table for this year or for the next 6 months, would that be okay? If you could drop 80% of just what everybody else, and look, it's like if you're following what everybody else is doing, that's what everybody's doing, and it's not working for them. So why don't you just cut that out and actually start to think about what is going to work for you to solve the problems that you want to do. More than happy to have a strategy call with you, because I can get in the details of what you want to do and sort of find that 1 simple or 2 simple routes that you can use to go forward. So I'm going to just stop the recording